What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. It's MLB The Show 20 season, finally. Pre-release is here. It released last night at midnight. I didn't stay up to get any content out then, but we are getting you some content today, and we're going to start off with our recommended setup and settings for franchise mode in MLB The Show 20. We're actually going to go ahead and set up our Pirates franchise that you will see a lot of here on the channel. We're just going to set it up and go through it and discuss everything, all the settings and everything, as we go through our typical yearly kickoff video. In addition to that, I just want to announce before we get into it that if you guys want to see more gameplay, pack openings, Diamond Dynasty, franchise, whatever it might be, I'm going to be streaming some of that stuff over on my Twitch channel. It is Jacob_Reed_YouTube. So make sure you go and follow my Twitch channel if you have not already. And we'll be uploading some bonus content there, including Madden, MLB, Call of Duty, any type of different game that we want to play that you guys might want to see me play. But without further ado, let's actually jump into it and get into the franchise settings today. And then the next video that we'll put out, I think I'm going to try and get it out today, is going to be the introduction and team breakdown to this franchise. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, whenever you hop into the main menu, you guys will recognize, if you've played this game before, that the menu has not changed for the past 3 years, I believe. This menu setup is pretty much exactly the same as last year, which is nice for consistency's sake. I wish they would improve it and make it a different setting, because I'm not a fan of the current layout. But jump into the franchise mode, which is on the play tab here, the second tab over next to the home tab. You go to franchise, we will start a new franchise. Now, I don't have one in here, so if you have a franchise, you can start a current one. You can continue a franchise from MLB The Show 19 if you want to import that save file that you might have, but we're just going to start fresh, start new, and then you have an option to choose between the rosters. So you can use the current roster, use the default roster, which will probably be the same for you guys. The current roster option is if you have another one loaded up in game, you can load a saved roster or load a roster from MLB The Show 19, which is really nice. You can load from the previous year. Now, I'm going to load a roster that I made. I made a roster for the team that is the Pittsburgh Pirates roster, and it actually has all of the correct players in it. Shout out to Scout Scoops and Riding Rosters and those guys for actually getting with MLB The Show this year and getting most of the players into the game. But you guys will notice that there are some players missing from the game, and so I had to add them in myself for the Pirates. So I went ahead and did that off camera before we did this franchise. Now, once you load into this screen, this is going to be your option to pick between teams. So we're just going to pick the Pittsburgh Pirates, but you have the option to control more than one team. You can control as many as you want, which isn't really an option in some other games, but it's a really nice option to have here in this game. You can choose multiple teams to control, but for the purposes of our YouTube series here and our purposes of this video, we're just going to pick the Pittsburgh Pirates and set it up as is. You'll get a lot of good information on this screen that you can compare teams by. You'll get a lot of ranks. You can see their contact, their power, all their different stats, and the team's budget, which is nice off of, and then you can see your ownership expectations at the top, which is going to be important for a setting that I'm going to show you guys later. The expectations here are that we finish over 500 and reach the postseason, which could be difficult with a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I'll explain why that matters in a moment. Now, what you'll see next to the team that you select, you can choose between a couple of different options here. You can go experienced or beginner. Obviously, if you are newer to the game, you'll want to go with beginner. If you're experienced, go with beginner, and then it'll tailor some of the settings for you that you will later still have an option to change if you choose to. And you can replace this team with a custom team. So you can create a custom team this year. You can load an existing custom team, which I would assume you can download from the vault from other people online if they've created custom teams. So that's a nice option, is you can replace teams, and you don't even necessarily have to replace the team that you're controlling. Let's say for some reason I don't want the Colorado Rockies in the game. I can replace them with any custom team that I choose. I can create a custom team, which is an interesting option. You can replace every team in the league if you want to have that type of interesting franchise. which is definitely something I could see a lot of people doing this year. But we're just going to leave it as the Pittsburgh Pirates for now and then jump ahead to the next screen. So you're going to press the options button to advanced. And you can actually press, if you press square, you can select every team, which is nice. You can select every single team at once without having to scroll through and select them all. So we'll go ahead and advance to the next screen, and then this is where I was talking about that team budget and your owner expectations all coming into play, because you can have the option to turn on and off GM contracts. So if you turn on GM contracts, you'll have a 3-year contract, and if you don't reach those goals, then your GM contract is going to get you fired if you have this on. If you don't reach your goals and you perform poorly, underperform, whatever it might be, you'll cause problems for yourself and you might get fired, and then you might basically, the franchise might be over for you. And so what I normally do is I set GM contracts off, I set fantasy draft off because I want to start with the real team. I turn legend free agents off because I don't want to play with all those 99 overalls in the free agency pool. CPU roster control, you can turn that on or off. I choose to have it off because I don't want to be tempted to go in there and mess with other teams' rosters. I'd rather them manage their rosters themselves, and that can create problems with trading if you have the CPU roster control on. I've noticed that it has caused issues in the past, so if you want to be able to execute trades and stuff properly, don't mess with the CPU roster control, just leave that off. CPU trading, I like to leave it on. I don't mind if my franchises get a little bit unrealistic. In past years, it has been the case where teams will just make massive moves. Players will end up every which way more trades than actually happen in the real MLB. I'm okay with it. If you're not okay with that, turn CPU trading off, because I'm warning you now that that's probably going to be the case this year again, where teams are just going to make tons of trades. Ignore budgets. This is something that I play with the idea of, if I am taking over the Pittsburgh Pirates, if I was the owner taking over the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I was doing that type of a series, I might say, yeah, let's ignore the budget, because, if I'm purchasing the Pirates, I'm going to spend more money than their $90 million budget. But if we're doing a realistic rebuild, we're going to have the budgets off or on. We want it to be ignore budgets off, because we want to have that budget and make it more difficult for ourselves. Additionally, don't turn forced trades on unless you want your trades to automatically go through. If you want to challenge yourself, turn forced trades off. Designated hitter. This year in the Pirates franchise, I have considered putting the designated hitter on, because it seems like in MLB they're leaning towards having the NL also adopt the designated hitter. It looks like within the next few seasons that is going to be the case, but for the interesting part of our franchise, we're just going to set it on auto for now, and that means that the AL will have the designated hitter and the NL will not. And we're just going to leave it that way. And then you can click X to advance. And then here on this screen, you get a couple more options to edit your different settings. So for coaching tasks, this includes setting your lineup, your rotations, and managing your injuries. I always set this to manual, but if you want to have a nice, easy ride where you don't have to mess with any of that, you just play your games and try to compete, then you could set this to auto manage and it will manage it for you, and it does a good job of doing it for you. Personally speaking, I like to have it to manual because I like having hands-on in every single part of my franchise. Likewise with scouting, I put that on manual. It can't hurt to put it on auto because it can get a little bit, how do I want to say it? It gets shoved to the side. You don't think about it. When you're doing your franchise, you don't always think about, oh, hey, let me go check the scouting and all that. And so that could cause a little bit of complications for you. But I like to have it set to manual. And then general manager tasks such as hiring and firing staff, your 40-man roster, your roster moves, free agency, all that stuff. I don't know why anybody would set this to auto manage unless you want to just have a nice easy ride, which is fine if you want to have that type of franchise. But if you set this to auto, you're going to create complications for yourself, because people will get hired and fired that you don't want to. You're going to have the wrong people on your roster. They might sign free agents that you don't want to have on your team. Your team might execute trades for you. I don't want to have any of that on, so I set everything to manual. I like to have my hands dipped in everything. I like to have full control, and therefore I set everything to manual. Like I said, if that's not how you want to play, then you have the option to set everything to auto and pick and choose what you set to auto, and you have those options there for you, which is really nice. Then we just go ahead and hit advance, and you'll get the option to start in spring training or start at the regular season. We're going to start in spring training. I don't know how much of the spring training we will actually play in this franchise, but for, general purposes, if you don't want to bother with spring training, go ahead and start at the regular season. It's going to be no skin off your back, and it's a really nice option that they've always had in there, that you can either start in spring training or start at the regular season. And, picking the start at regular season option, you don't have to bother simulating through spring training or anything like that. So those are my recommended tips for setting up your franchises in MLB The Show 20. It's really not that hard. It's pretty straightforward, but I wanted to go through it with you guys and show you guys what the settings are that we'll be playing on here in MLB The Show 20 with our Pittsburgh Pirates franchise. Next video, like I said, we'll go through, break down the team, tell you guys what the plans are with everything, and then in addition to that, we're also going to make a video, separate video, talking about the settings for actually playing the game, which is going to be more all-encompassing because it won't just be for franchise, it'll be for pretty much your other game modes as well, and that's going to include things like your hitting settings, pitching settings, all those things that you'll want to change around a little bit to make your life a little bit easier, and make things a little bit more fun for you, because everybody's going to have different user preferences, and I'm going to go through and describe, like I did last year, what all the settings mean for you, and make things super simple and break them down for you straightforward. Now, if this video helps you out in some way, or you guys are looking forward to the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise, or you're looking forward to any more of my MLB The Show 20 content, make sure you leave a like on the video, comment down below with any questions that you guys have, any suggestions that you are going to want to see out of the franchise, I don't know, any help, any tips or tricks that you might need for MLB The Show 20. Let me know all that down in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel down below. And then in addition to that, like I said, guys, if you haven't already, go follow my Twitch channel, Jacob_Reed_YouTube over on Twitch, because I will be doing some extra bonus content there where we play MLB, we play Madden, we play a bunch of different games. Any bonus content that I do, I'm going to put over on the Twitch stream, so make sure you follow that. So hope you guys have a great one. Stay safe out there with the coronavirus. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.